Hi there, and welcome to Let's Slow Down, a podcast for all of you who feel tired and stressed from this overwhelming world. Here we'll have fun, inspiring conversations about living life on our own terms and explore ways to ease the pace of our modern world, because life really is good when you're relaxed enough to be present for it. I'm your host, Anne-Marie Stolting, and I welcome you to this space where I hope to inspire you to slow down, because life is too short to let it go by in a blur. So take a deep breath, relax, and enjoy the show. Welcome back. Let's Slow Down, episode 7 already. Can't believe it. I hope you've been enjoying the podcast so far and getting value out of the episodes. As I'm winding down the first month, I've been reflecting, and I would love your input. What have you liked best so far? What topics, guests, and what do you want to hear more about on future episodes? Please DM me on Instagram, or you can email enjoylifemore2023@gmail.com. I would love to hear from you. If you're enjoying the show, can you please take a minute to submit a review on Apple? That's how the powers that be recognize a strong podcast, so it's very important for a new show like mine. I'll be hosting some fun little review raffles soon, so if you write one, take a screenshot before you submit it and DM me. Thanks, guys. On today's show, Living a Fearless and Creative Life, I'm talking to Maya Gutierrez, all the way from the San Francisco Bay Area. Maya is the host of the Fearlessly Divine podcast, which she created to inspire you to fearlessly live your most authentic and best life. Her hope is to create an uplifting and supportive community through meaningful discussions with her guests. Some highlights of our discussion were the power of nature, how it can help us connect with our inner voice, almost like a meditation practice. It can also ground us and change our mood in an instant. To take it easy on yourself and remember that you're human, not perfect. Repeat, we are not perfect. Give yourself the same grace and compassion that you'd give a friend. When we're kinder to ourselves, we're kinder to everyone around us. So true, and such an important reminder. Maya and I had some tech glitches at the beginning of our interview, so I'm going to jump right into the part where I asked her to tell us about her podcast, Fearlessly Divine. Here we go.
The values of my podcast is to support and uplift women to live their most fearless and creative lives. And when I say creative, I don't necessarily mean in an artistic sense, painting and drawing and poetry. If that's your jam, totally.
Right.
But when I say creative, it's just really anything that lights you up, because I've never been one for the fine arts, but I think that lately I've been tapping into my creativity and that fearless side too. It's hard. It's not easy. But when we allow ourselves to listen to that inner voice, well, there's, sometimes there's two little inner voices, right? You can think about the old school cartoons with the angel and the devil.
Yep.
Yep.
And which shoulder are you turning towards?
Yeah. And it's like they both have your face on them, right? And it's like one is like the true inner you that really wants to chase after your dreams. And the other one is your inner critic telling you you're not smart enough, you're not worthy enough, you're not whatever enough to go after them. But if we can learn to squash that little devil off of your shoulder, and we can be truly in alignment with who we are, that just, I think, allows people to really light up. And that's what I want to do. I want to, do that for myself. And I think I am on my journey of getting there. I think it's a constant thing. And I want to bring people along with me on this journey. So that's really what led me to my podcast, Fearlessly Divine.
I love it. I'm working on that myself. That's kind of the whole reason I really jumped into focusing on slow living and really being more intentional, because it was something that I found really lit me up and gave me that sense of excitement and of purpose. And I found that it was something I was really interested in. And I was also really, and I still am, struggling in my life. This will be a lifelong journey for me to just keep trying to figure it out and work at it and talk to people about it. Right. I mean, we're all going through this in one way or another in our lives. So bringing more light to it and having the conversations can only help. I mean, we don't all have to figure it out every little step on our own, and obviously the perfect recipe for me is going to look different for you, but we've all got at the heart of it, we've all got a lot of similar things going on. And I think we're all looking for something similar and trying to find that alignment as to who we are. And just like you said, squashing that inner critic that is always there and not letting that win, right?
Yeah.
Like let our best self shine. And I am an artist. I mean, I am a musician, and that was always something that brought me so much joy. And then as I got older and just all the things, all the adulting, just
Hmm.
it takes so much of the creative, of using your imagination. It takes like just adult life takes a lot of that away. And I think when we allow ourselves the freedom to tap back into that, and that's when we can really start to figure out who we really are, what we want to do, where we want to go. And for me, I feel like it was right in front of me for a long time. I've been focusing on this for a really long time. And it wasn't till recently that I allowed myself to really pursue it. And this is something that we're all gonna have a lot of work to do along our adult lives, but we need a good
Yeah.
dose of this regularly to figure it out.
I mean, I think for me, what I'm learning is that I really thrive in community. And so I think that's what I'm really working for is trying to create this uplifting community around me. And it's not just for me because, I think anybody who participates in this would benefit. We're here to
Absolutely.
uplift and support each other. It's not about tearing each other down. Finally, women are kind of waking up to this message that
Yeah.
I think, in the past, it was very much of this like competitive nature. And again, going back to like the societal expectations, but why, why can't we just love on each other and lift each other up? Everybody's going through something and it's different. And I think it's a lifelong journey for everybody. When you were talking, it just kind of reminded me of the idea of if we're comfortable, we're not growing. It really takes going into that discomfort and pushing through
Mhm.
that discomfort to grow and become somebody else. And you're saying, all of the adulting, yeah, it can get really monotonous, routine, but then it gets comfortable. And then I think we also become comfortable on those excuses. And I'm not trying to be harsh in any way.
I
Adult life
agree.
is real. We have
Yep.
to pay bills. We have to
Right.
work. We have to, get the kids up and get them to school and do all of the things. We have
Yep.
to, get meals on the table at least a couple times a day. And there's a lot to do, and it
Yeah.
feels like not a lot of time to do it. And so that's why it's so important uh, in terms of honoring that little voice inside to carve out, even if it's just 5 minutes a day, to listen to that voice. I'm going to be honest, I am not one for meditation.
Mhm.
Everything I read promotes meditation.
Yes.
I think it's one of those messages that's coming through me like this is what you need to do. This is what you need to do.
It's like, "You have to listen to this now, Maya." I'm a fan, and it's
Oh,
fairly new to
good.
me, but I have noticed some pretty awesome benefits from it. So,
Nice.
keep listening to that voice, but
For
I
for me, I do, and so this is, like me connecting with my spiritual side, since it's really hard for me to sit still
Mhm.
and there's all those other things to do. I put my 2-year-old in the stroller and we take a walk to the park that's nearby. And I love being in nature. I just am in awe of the trees and the birds. And when a little hummingbird or a butterfly comes around, I get so happy. Or there's a lake at that park. And so there's like ducks and geese and turtles sometimes. And all of it, and
Yeah.
then, depending on the time of year, you see it all change, when
Yep.
it's really green, and then in the summertime, it's really brown and dry. Now the fall, the leaves, and in the winter, everything will be kind of bare and muddy sometimes if we get some rain. And all of that, like for me, being in that outside space, connecting with nature, I almost think of that as my meditation because that's when that little voice speaks to me the loudest, I guess you could say. That's when
Mhm.
I'm really hearing that little voice.
Me
So
too. Me
I
too.
do think there's a lot to be said for meditation. If anybody out there, is has a meditation practice or is trying to have a meditation practice, I'm all for it. I'm no expert at that.
But you know what? I think we make it, and I think this is something we all do, like, across the board. We always make things harder than they have to be,
Uh-huh.
and
Yeah,
what you
you're
just
right.
described is you actually have a meditation practice. I would
Mhm.
I would argue you 100% do. And even though it's not like a formal meditation app and it's not vlogged and
And it's not like sitting down like this.
right, but it is, and I agree with you. I feel like being outside is the most grounding thing that I can do for myself.
Mhm.
And it can change your mood in an instant, right? Just getting outside of our own little world for a few minutes and getting some the deep breaths, the fresh air. That's something that I have kind of just realized for myself, like how important it really is. And I've always been somebody who's outside a lot, but trying to make that conscious effort of doing it regularly. And I'm trying to do it in the morning because I find that even when I'm really tired, if I get out there for a few minutes, it wakes me up. And it's such a great feeling. And I think you do have a meditation practice.
Yeah,
So
thank you for saying that. Thank you. That's really validating. Yeah, and I just wanna share that I think it's only recently that I've discovered how important it is for me to get outside. During the early pandemic days, it was really tough, and I don't think I was giving myself at all what I needed in so
right.
many ways.
None of us were.
Yeah,
You're not
totally.
alone.
And so, working from home, I really well, one, we didn't go out much,
Mhm.
and even though going outside was fine, I didn't go outside much because of my work got really crazy at that
Yeah.
time. It was just like I would wake up, deal with my daughter, and then just open up the computer and then sit at the computer the whole rest of the day. During the early days, my mom wasn't working and was helping me with taking care of my daughter, and I was lucky because she would at least remember to, like, put a plate of food in front of me during, a
Yeah.
12 o'clock meeting,
Yeah.
and it's just like, oh, I think back on those days, and it's like, I was not taking care of myself at all, and it didn't get much better. I had a little pause. I was pregnant, when the world shut down. And so luckily when my daughter was born, before she was born, I went on maternity leave. I was out for a long time. I took all the time in the world that
Hey,
I could
that's
off
okay.
work.
That's good.
I came back in April of 2021 to work, and by then I was vaccinated. And they weren't telling us to go back to the office yet. I think that came later that summer.
Mhm.
But still, like, once I was back at work, even though it was still from home, it was still this environment of like, just kind of go, 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 go at work.
Yep.
And I don't know, I've heard this from other people, but I've heard people say like, we're working from home, but we're working harder than we work in the
Well,
office.
there was then, like, no separation between home and work to a point, right?
That And with Zoom, like, these meetings were on top of each other. At least in person, you had to schedule, like, an hour to drive from that location to that
Yep.
location if you're going from meeting to meeting, and it's like, "No, this meeting ends at 4 and this meeting starts at 4." So you're in, like, 2 meetings at once. At least
Oh,
that's how my
man.
work was, and
Yeah.
I had no time to stop. And it really culminated into me leaving the job. It's just like my lifestyle just did not feel sustainable.
Yes.
Uh,
So tell
and
us about that. Like, it sounds like you were in some ways kind of forced, right? Just from what you could handle, forced to take a second and to slow down, to truly slow
Yeah.
down, right? What did it
Yeah.
look like?
It was really taking a toll on my mental health. I would
Mhm.
say my lowest point was summer of 2021. We had a flood in our home, and it seeped from the bathroom to the kitchen. So we had to
Oh,
replace the flooring
no.
in one bathroom and in the kitchen. And we were displaced from our home for a month.
Oh my god. Well, that's huge. And
Yeah.
you had wait, did you have 1 or 2 at this point?
Already two babies. Yeah. So
Okay.
my younger daughter at that point was, infant. She was
Uh-huh.
less than a year old. It happened right before the 4th of July. Of course, I don't know, because then, nobody wanted to work on our floors during the
Uh-huh.
4th of July week. But so that could have delayed perhaps. But, there was some days off of work, and then I took some extra days off of work, and I went down to Southern California and visited the family, which had been, our first trip post-COVID
Right,
for
right.
me.
Much needed.
But on top of that, there was the work stress, there was the home stress, there was relationship stress. I was just really unhappy at that point. And I was in therapy and I was just like, I have to leave something. Something has to change.
Something's got to give, right?
And I felt so stuck. I felt like my relationship wasn't stable at the time, and so I was like, "Well, if I leave my marriage, I need to keep my job to financially provide for my kids.
Right.
And then if I leave my job, well, then I can't financially provide for my kids, and so I have to stay in my marriage." Like, it was this real stuck feeling
Yeah.
of, like, you can't win. And so I had already also been letting my supervisor at the time know, like, "This job is not working for me, this life
Yeah.
stress is not working
Yeah.
for me, I gotta maybe leave something." And I'm like, "I can't do this to my kids." And so I just really, had to slow down and decided, I need to take a step back, and even though I didn't wanna give up my career, I just knew that I had to give more to my kids, at least at this age, and everybody was
Sure. It's
so
not necessarily
supportive.
forever, right?
Exactly, yeah,
Yep.
everybody was so supportive in that, saying things like, "You're not gonna regret this time with your kids. They're only little once,"
Yeah. And it goes so fast.
So, yeah, my when I
Talk
gave
about
them
being
notice.
fearless, by the way. I mean, that was like a big step, right? You
Yeah,
had to be
thank
super
you.
brave and just
Yeah,
do
I
it.
was I was super fearful, but I was trying very, very hard to just lean into the fact that the universe would take care of me and the universe
Yep.
would provide, and it's been fine. It's been fine. Meanwhile, creating businesses now.
Right. I mean, I was going to say, look at all the wonderful things that came from it, right?
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
that was all the unknown, and I think it really
yes,
goes back to that, like, comfort, discomfort. Like, there was
yes,
a huge, like, discomfort of leaving behind this stable income, this career that I had spent, I don't know, something like 10 to 15 years building,
right.
the health benefits, the all of the benefits that
All the
coming with
comfortable
having the
things.
9 to 5.
Uh-huh.
And then leaping into this unknown of like, am I gonna have enough money? Am I gonna have health insurance? Are the kids gonna, all of the things, and everything has just been fine. It's not been the same, but it's been fine. And I think it really has led me on this completely different path that I never imagined that I would go down. But I'm back to, like, really listening to that inner voice, and what a gift. I don't even know that I had a relationship with that inner voice when I was working at that stressful job,
Could you
and
even hear it? I mean, did you even really
exactly.
hear it? It's like sometimes we're running so fast, we don't even take that minute to check in and how am I feeling? Like what's going on with me, right? You don't have time.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
did not have time, so it's been a huge life lesson to be able to slow down and listen to that voice. Yeah, I think, from here on out, I will try to live my life differently. And also, another lesson that I've learned in this past year is self compassion. I've always been so hard on myself my
Mhm.
whole life. And now
Me
I'm
too.
learning to just be easy on myself. Like, I'm human, I'm not perfect, I never will be. I can say that I recognize the path that I want to be on, but there may be some setbacks, there may be some failures, but I don't have to be so hard on myself. I could just use them as opportunities for learning and growth.
Yep. Someone said something to me because I'm the same way. And as far as like far back as I can remember being so hard on myself and it wasn't coming from anybody else. It was
Mhm.
coming from me. And I was doing it all to myself. And not too long ago, I think it was my therapist who said to me, "What would you tell a friend that came to you in this situation?" And I thought about it and I told her, and she said, "Well, why aren't you giving yourself the same advice and taking your own advice and giving yourself the same grace and
Mhm.
compassion that you give somebody else?" And I had I just never thought of it like that. I don't know why. And that was really helpful to me. And I try to ask myself that more when I'm trying to figure something out or figure out the next step. And okay, well, what advice would I give my best friend if they came to me in this situation? And it's usually much kinder and gentler than it would have been if I was only thinking about me then. I think the more we learn that, obviously, it's only going to serve us better. But I think it's a win-win across the board because we're happier. I mean, talk about relationships. If we're happier, we're going to be better to our spouse. We're going to be better to our kids. We're going to be better. We're able to
Yeah.
do more because we feel better. And just even running errands, you're just happier. Sometimes that smile from the stranger, it makes you feel good. And
Yeah.
if you can be adding to that kind of a vibration rather than the stressed out, grumpy one, which
Yeah.
can be the default at times, then it's a win-win for everybody. So
Totally, totally. Yeah, I was thinking the exact same thing of what a gift not only for ourselves, but for everybody around us to be
yeah,
able to really just slow down and give ourselves whatever it is that we need, whatever nourishment, whether it's a nap, a bath,
yeah.
some
And not
words of
feel guilty.
affirmation.
No guilt
Yeah.
with it. Cause I think our just society like has somehow we have this guilt, like, oh, I took the nap. Not, then you feel behind or no, you're fine.
You needed it. If
You
you took
needed
it, you
it.
needed it.
Yes. And I believe we're being good models for our kids as
Mhm.
parents to show them it's okay to take care of yourself. It's okay to do things that are self-care. All of those things. It's all okay.
Yeah.
And if they can learn that again, we can teach them all these things younger. Whew, lots.
I know. I keep thinking there should be a ton of other things that they teach in high school besides the things that they do. And high school's probably changed since I was last there.
Exactly. Oh, it has. Oh, it has. Having a high schooler myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, man. So, all right, well, as we kind of wrap this up today, I really want to thank you for giving us your perspective on what you're seeing in your personal world and just a couple things that really stick out that I think are so important are the mission of your podcast by supporting and uplifting women, creating that sense of community. I agree with you so much that we all do, I think, thrive when we're in community and when we can be in a positive community and using social media and using some technology as an uplifting space rather than using it as comparison and just being more positive, being in more alignment with who we truly are and allowing ourselves to listen to that inner voice, which is so important. And I'm going to add slowing down enough to hear the inner voice,
Yeah,
and then
that's
actually
important.
actually following through and listening to it and just, getting outside and grounding ourselves in nature, possibly calling it meditation.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Yes, all of those things. I think these are all really important messages. This conversation is just really helpful and it just makes you think and take a step back and look at how we're living and where we could support ourselves more.
Yeah.
So, I thank you for coming and sharing all this with us. And I want to remind everybody to check out your podcast, Fearlessly Divine. So when is it launching? And just tell us a little bit more about where we can find you.
Yeah. So you can get the Fearlessly Divine podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcasts. New episodes come out every Wednesday. You can find me on Instagram at Maya G. So that's OHMAYAGEE. And I also have a website, MayaGutierrezConsulting.com.
Yay. I love it. Thank you, Maya.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been so nice talking to
It's
you.
been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Have a good one.
You too.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode and have been inspired to slow down and start living life at your own pace. As a brand new podcast, your listener voice matters. If Let's Slow Down is resonating with you, please take a minute to leave a review and rate us. Subscribe to the show wherever you listen and share it with friends. Remember, this is a process, so go easy on yourself. Be gentle and take all the space you need to thrive because the world needs you to be at your best, to love and serve others and yourself.